The boring stuff is the key. The boring stuff is the key. I want to just share that because I think a lot of people, whether it's learning music or running a business, the reason they fail is because they don't want to do the boring stuff. And with Sneezy, you know what I've been doing a lot of lately? I've been counting shirts, counting hats, sending emails, putting together orders and taking them to the post office and shipping them. The boring stuff is the key. And a lot of people, they want to skip over the boring parts. If I go to playing piano, for example, people want to go right to playing, the Rachmaninoff piece or the McCoy Tyner solo, the Herbie Hancock solo. They want to go and play the big, fun, flashy thing, and they skip the boring stuff. But you got to do the boring stuff to actually get the results. It's just like going to the gym, right? It's like playing a sport, playing basketball is fun, but if you want to be able to be strong so you can be like a good defender or explosive sprinter with the ball, you got to do workouts. You got to do repetitions of bicep curls, bench, etc. You got to do your scales. You got to play little basic exercises. You got to practice chords with the metronome slow. The boring stuff is the key to the success you want. And this is universal in whatever you want to do. If you want to write a book, it's exciting to imagine having a completed book. But I can imagine if you're an author, there's probably lots of days in a row where you're writing and it feels like it doesn't make any sense, where it's like, oh crap, is this even going to go anywhere? With Sneezy, we drive all around the country to different gigs, and we will drive 10 plus hours to get to a show. It's boring to be stuck in the car all that time. But we do that so that the 60 minutes or 90 minutes we're on stage, where it's an explosive amount of fun, is possible. I used to be in bands that just played locally. We skipped some of that boring stuff, right? We didn't take care of our inventory. We didn't clean the van. We didn't even have a van, but if we had a van, we didn't clean it. We didn't have a dedicated vehicle we worked on. We didn't drive 10 hours to a gig. We tried to just play locally, and we skipped the boring stuff. But the boring stuff is where the keys to the kingdom are. So whatever you're working on, usually I talk about playing music, but it could be anything. It could be running a business. It could be getting in shape. You got to do the boring stuff. You got to do the repetitive actions that in a microcosm are not impressive. Playing your scales for 10 minutes today might feel like it's not moving the needle. And if you just do it today, it really doesn't, to be honest. But if you play your scales 10 minutes today, 10 minutes tomorrow, 10 minutes the next day, 10 minutes the next day, for 2 months, think of how much of a different place you'll be as a piano player. If today you said, I'm going to play C major with a metronome 2 octaves, 10 minutes today and tomorrow and the next day, and then next week you do it with G, the next week you do it with D, and then in 12 weeks, which would just be 3 months, a quarter of a year, you would have so much more fluency in every key. You'd have so much more ability to not just play your scales, but understand in that key. Because the truth is, a lot of people try and understand, they struggle to talk about music theory because they can't compartmentalize the information quickly enough. It's like, if I am okay, in the key of E, we have the 4 chord is A, the 5 chord is B, the 6 chord is C sharp minor. If you're wait, the key of E, how many sharps is that again? Oh yeah, it's F sharp, G sharp, C sharp, D sharp. Wait, the 4 chord, it's A. If it takes you that long to figure it out, you're gonna feel like music theory sucks. You're gonna feel like it's hard. But if you're yep, I've practiced my E scale a bunch. I've played it in thirds. I've played it up and down, 1 octaves, 2 octaves, 3 octaves, 4 octaves. Then when you talk about it, it's going to be easy to conceptualize it and go, yep, that's how it works. Got it. But you got to do the boring stuff. And that's the hardest part about being competent at something, is the day in, day out nature of it. You got to wake up and decide you're going to work on it. You got to wake up and say, even when I don't want to do this, I'm going to do it. the gym analogy is such a good analogy because I was talking with my homie Brett last night. We went to the gym, me, Brett, and Abby did, and like Brett said, every day I don't want to go to the gym, but then I just put on my clothes, get in the car, and go. And we were talking about the power of us going together, because usually I don't want to go to the gym either. I just get in the car with him and go. But often we'll be sitting there and one of us will be like, all right, let's get in the car, let's go. And one of us pushes through that not wanting to go to be able to go. And look, Mom, I'm strong. This is only like 7 months at the gym. But it takes pushing through that boringness. It takes pushing through the suck to get to the other side. So if you're anything like me, maybe you're in your 20s and you're like laying on your couch just like watching YouTube and you're like, one more video and I'll get started. One more video and I'll get started. Like, understand that like there's no secret motivation that's gonna like come out of nowhere and have you get inspired to do it. I mean, sometimes you can be inspired to work on something simple. Maybe this video will help you get inspired, but tomorrow you're gonna wake up and you're not gonna be inspired again. And you have to find that internal motivation of understanding like it takes doing the boring stuff again and again and again. You know, I'm not diligent on this YouTube channel because sometimes it's boring to get going on it, but that's okay. This is not my priority. I just kind of do this for fun here and there. But if I were to start a YouTube, if I were to take this really seriously, if I were to say, no, I want to grow to 10K subscribers and make a living off this, I would be making videos every day, even on the days I don't want to, even when it feels boring, even when it feels like it's not moving the needle forward. If I wanted to get really good at piano, I would practice memorizing music every day. Even songs I don't particularly like. I'd practice playing scales and patterns every day. I'd practice transcribing every day. Truth is, that's what I did. That's why I'm so good at piano now. You have to be willing to do the boring thing. One kind of quick tidbit on like maybe how to help you do the boring thing is find community that has the same goal as you so you could help each other get through the boring thing. I touched on this on the gym a little bit, but if you have a homie who also is trying to get better at music, practice with them. Say, hey, let's get together and work on this scale. Let's do the boring thing together, because it can be a lot more fun to get through it with a friend. You know, like, I don't know if you've ever had like a job you hated, but like you had a homie at the job, and it's like 100 times easier to do the job when your homie's there. Because at least when it sucks, you can look at each other and be like, this sucks, doesn't it? And you kind of laugh like, yeah, this sucks. I hate doing this. It's like the gym thing I said before. It's like if you have people you love, you can do just about anything with them. And that includes doing the boring thing to gain mastery over a skill, to have a business that works. You know, me and Brett counting inventory the other night, just having fun because we're homies. Abby came over to help us organize merch. We had a goal of eliminating one bin from our merch that we carry around. It's like a really boring job and it seems so tiny, right? It's like, to run a successful band, how does getting rid of one bin in the trailer move the needle? It's like, the truth is it moves it just this much. It makes it just this much easier every time we load in and load out. But we spent like an hour and a half putting merch in boxes and experimenting to make that happen, to make everyone in the band have a little bit of an easier time next time we do the gig. But that compounds, and that level of like willing to embrace the boring job and do it again and again and again is going to make our life easier and is going to make the business run a little bit smoother, so that hopefully in 5 years, when Sneezy's making 100K a month and we're selling all sorts of merch and we're selling out arenas, it's one of the tiny little building blocks we can point to say that brought us there. You know, there's never just one thing. Usually there's a million little boring things that get you to your goal. So be willing to be bored today. You know, like, this isn't a fresh, hot new take, but it's like a problem with our phones is like, we never allow ourselves, like, boredom is like a virus on our mind these days. People are terrified of being bored. I'm guilty of this too. I got YouTube that I watch. I got the chess app on my phone. I got doom scrolling habits on Instagram and Facebook. Like, I'm not above this, but I do understand that like when I put my phone away and just let myself be bored and let myself sit in the discomfort of boredom, I'm more able to do the boring thing, like practice a scale, like just like journal in a page for 20 minutes. So I think I've made my point. It's been 10 minutes. Do the boring thing that will get you closer to where you want to be in 10 years. Ask yourself, what do I want to be able to do in 10 years? Like, where do I want to be? What do I want to have? And then it's like, well, what if I did one task every day for a month? Would that get me closer to it? Yes or no? If it's yes, do that task and like accept that it's boring. And cry about it if you want. Who cares? But that's how it goes, baby. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.